right, another podcast from the Michigan Institute of Athletics in Brighton, Michigan. This is going to be a great podcast today. I'm super excited about it. I'm a little scared of the guest sitting across the table. Right before we get into it, I want to shout out VetLife. VetLife is a 501c3 nonprofit company. It's a company of veterans for veterans. Every veteran faces difficulties when they transition from active duty back to civilian life, and VetLife is there to ease that transition. To reach out to VetLife, you can do so through Instagram or Facebook, or check out their website at vetlifetoday.org. So without further ado, I want to introduce the newly crowned, the sniper, Cierra Buxton. Cierra, for the people that don't know you, you just made your first ever amateur debut. You're 18 years old. You stepped into the cage and you fought for the first time. I want you to talk about, from the young girl that came into this class at first, like when you first showed up at this academy, did you believe that you were going to compete? Like, did you come in and you said, I'm going to step in the cage and fight? Was that a process? And then lead the people at home up to that point. Like, I want you to talk about everything before the fight, leading up to it, talking to your family about it, fight week, what your sister thought about it. I'm basically saying this big intro now because I just want to shut up and take it all in from you. So go after it, Sierra.
All right, so we'll start from the very beginning. I came into this gym, and I wasn't expecting to be like, oh yeah, I want a debut. I want to go pro. At first I was like, oh, I'm just here to get a good workout. Boost my confidence up because I was really tiny back then. I was a nobody, just chilling. And I came here and I was like, oh, this place is legit. This is cool. I want to train here. I want to come here every day. And that's what I did. I came here. Right away, I fell in love with this place. The first class, I think it was Muay Thai, and that was really cool. We had all these pro fighters there too, and I was like, that'd be cool. I was kind of thinking what if I could do that? But at first, I was just like, okay, this is a good workout. Because my parents were still really, mostly my mom. She's, freaked out about the whole thing. She's like, I don't want my baby to get hit. She's all going on about that. And I was like, it's going to be fine. It's not even going to hurt. Not even being punched yet. But as time went by, I kept training. And, bunch of pros, I trained with them. And they were really good. I was like, what if I could get this good? That would be, a dream. So I was like, maybe I'm going to put this in perspective and say, I want to go to the UFC now. So I did write a paper. I made a timeline. I was like, how long will it take me to get to the UFC? This is probably 2 years ago. And I, marked it. I was like, this is going to take a while, but we'll just keep it. So I still have it somewhere. But I put that, and then I kept training. And, along the way, you make a lot of friends. This place is, family mostly now. And I'm just really loving, I just completed my debut, and it was amazing. When I came in here, I did not expect to get, and here I am now. I'm completed 1-0 in a debut, which is awesome.
Okay, a couple of things I want to ask about. First of all, you made a timeline. You literally went from the idea to you know what? I'm going to start to see myself as a UFC fighter one day. How long does that take? What does that life look like? That's using your imagination. That's starting to see a version of the future that you desire and then charting it into a course. And most people, when they try to imagine themselves into some extremely high level thing, they instantly discredit themselves. They're like, I just don't have what it takes, or I have this responsibility, or I have to do that. There's no way I can. You were like, I'm going to chart this thing out. I have got to see that paper. Do you remember the timeline you gave yourself?
I didn't really give it a time length. I was just I'd fill in each spot as I got closer. I was like, man, this will be exciting once it's all colored in.
You better find that, and you better write down the date of your debut, and you better start filling that in, because that's amazing. One day, if you're in the UFC and you have a Buxton jersey on your back and you have that piece of paper that the young 16-year-old Sierra wrote and said, I'm going to do this, oh my God, you might as well write a book, tell your story, do motivational speeches, because that's incredible. So let's talk all about this debut. So first of all, when I started talking to you and saying, hey, I think you're ready for your mixed martial arts debut, and we put your name onto the fight list. Did anything change for you? Did you tell your parents right away? Did training feel any different? When we first started talking about like, hey, it's time, we're gonna get you a fight. What were the feelings and thoughts?
At first, I was like, well, I better start getting on a diet now because, I have trouble losing weight. So I was like, better start now just in case he tells me the fight's at, 125 or something. I'm still, 145 or something. I'd be like, I don't know. But as he told me about it, I was like, this is going to be awesome. Training did change a little because I was training actually for something. When you're just as you train, you're like, yeah, I'll be training for a fight eventually, but you don't know when that fight's gonna come. So you just train and train and train until that time goes. But once you know you have a fight, it's like, man, I better train super hard so I can get in there and do my business and get out.
So, did you tell your family right off the bat? Did you tell your sister? Did you tell your friends? Did you let anyone know, or did they find out later when it was closer to the fight?
I didn't tell them really. I didn't want to jinx it. I know it's hard to find other girls, so I just kind of kept chilling, and I didn't tell them yet. But once, we had the fight, I was like, oh, guess what, guys? Listen, I have my first debut. It was awesome. They were kind of like, are you wearing headgear? I was like, no. So my mom was like, you're not wearing headgear? What are you wearing? I was like, just a mouth guard. And she's like, freaking out about it. My dad, he was just like, oh, that's awesome. I can't wait. And my sister was like, oh, cool. I was like, cool.
What about your friends? Because I remember in your first interview, you told me that you let your friends know that this is a top priority for you. And something about you is just so ahead of the curve in the way that most 18-year-old kids, there's a million distractions in life, and most people cannot avoid the pitfalls of society. You get pulled into drinking, or you get pulled into this or these other drugs, or just things that are gonna slow down your progress towards being the woman that you want to be. Somehow, you have dodged so many of these things. Were your friends super pumped up for you? Did you tell a lot of them? Do you kind of keep it quiet within your circle?
I don't have many friends. I probably have 3 good friends, and 2 of them are not even in Michigan. My best friend, Erica, is in Texas for college. So, I always text her, and we FaceTime, and she's super proud of me. She's super happy. She's probably, the most proudest she's ever been about me, and she's bragging to all her friends in Texas. Look at, this is my best friend. I was like, yes. And then my other friend, Robert, he's in the Marines right now, so I can't really tell him anything besides, letters, and so I'm just waiting for him to letter me back and see what his reaction would be. And then my last friend, Haley, she actually came to the fight, which was awesome. She's a big supporter, fan. She's just telling all her friends, too. She posted on her story, but they were all really excited.
So tell me, where does it come from that you're able to avoid so many of the things, like I said, that get kids off track and just set you back and lead to traumas and all the stuff that you then have to work through? What keeps you so focused? How? Because you show up all the time. You work your ass off. I've never heard you complain one time on the mats. Where does that come from?
I don't know. It's just all, will. I kind of look at, life and, kids are drinking and partying now. I don't really see, the fun in that. There's no fun in that when you could be, trying to better yourself and, while they're over there drinking, you could be trying to get to the top and actually making something of yourself. Because there's only one life, and I'm not going to waste it, making my liver horrible and smoking, which makes training harder, and your breathing will be, and it'll just not be good. So I kind of just didn't look at that stuff. I just kind of focused on what I wanted instead. And yeah, it's hard because a bunch of people are asking me oh, let's go to maybe you want to go to a party, and I'm like, no, I'd rather go train with the boys and stuff and hang out with my friends over at the gym because they actually want to do something with themselves.
Well, that's awesome, Sierra. I want to talk a little bit about your home life and growing up life. Did you come from a really strong family? Did you have a good childhood? Because I always look for, factors that lead people to being who they are. So there has to be success in your past, or at least clues as to why you are that way. What was your family life like growing up?
My mom and dad were super supportive. I had a good childhood. Everyone was, nothing bad can't really happen. It was all just happy, and you'd go out, you'd hang with your friends, you'd go camping, and my sisters always like hang out with me and stuff. So nothing bad ever happened. Like I kind of just grew up with a good life. So
You had a good foundation right from the start. So let's talk about, we get your fight booked, the posters coming out, people are talking about it, your family is going to come to the event. Talk about like the emotions leading up to it. Were you feeling a lot of nerves leading up to it? Did you feel nerves when I first contacted you and said, Sierra, you have a fight? Like, talk all about that experience and tell me like what the reaction was from your family and your friends and things like this.
yeah. So when you told me I had the fight, I was like super excited. Like I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like awesome. But I didn't have any nerves. Like I was like, I'm gonna go in there and do what I do best and show like people what like I can do and just have fun with it. 'Cause my last fight I had, the smoker fight in like back in May I think it was super nervous. Like I was more focused on the crowd than I was my opponent. Like there wasn't a lot of people, but they're a big amount, so I was really nervous. But this coming fight, I was like, I can't focus on the crowd. Like, I have to focus on what I'm going to do. And, like, I didn't get nervous at all during the fight. I just walked out there, did what I did best, and I got out of there. And my family was super excited after. Like, they were like, God, they were more nervous than I was, I think, because my mom was super scared, because your baby's going in the cage, and she's like, what's going to happen? And I think everyone there who came was super excited when they finally got there.
So I want to dig deeper into that because in between two performances, a kickboxing smoker that really means nothing. It's just a smoker, which for people that don't know what that is, it's just like an exhibition bout. It doesn't go on your record or anything like that. It's just basically like sparring with someone new, okay, under a rule set, right? From that to what I witnessed on Saturday night, you were this like world-class mental state. Like almost every fighter goes through a ton of emotional ups and downs and all the nerves. And you and Spencer are the only two people that I think I've ever cornered, except maybe Danny Berry. Danny Berry, I remember some of his fights. One time, me and Brian, he was fighting for his first, I think, amateur title. Me and Brian were sitting cage side. We were like shaking nervous for this fight because Danny was fighting a really legit kid. It was a huge step up in competition. Me and Brian are in the corner like, oh my God. Danny gets in the ring, looks at us, and he's like, guys, I got this. What are you doing? I got this. And me and Brian just started laughing. He was so unbelievably relaxed. And me and Brian were like, oh my God. And Danny dusted this kid. And Danny's a grappler. And he smashed this guy on the feet, lands a knee to the body, drops the guy with his striking, and then rear naked chokes him. So you, Spencer, and Danny are the only people I've ever seen fight in the type of energy that you did last night. So Saturday night. I need you to try for me as a coach and the other fighters in this building to explain exactly what caused that. Like how were you so loose? How were you so relaxed? What was your mindset like leading up to maybe fight week, the day before when you first saw your opponent? Because there's some secrets in there that you're holding on to right now that in the fight world are priceless. Just talk all about your mental state or like your thoughts that you were having. How did you stay so relaxed?
Like I told you when I was there, I was like, this does not feel real. Like I may be backstage and you wrap my hands already, but I just felt like I was there watching a bunch of fights. And I don't know, I kind of listened to a lot of motivation, like when I was in the back waiting. Like one of the motivations that I really like is it's like I can, I will, I must. So I kind of kept that in my head, like this is it, like I'm just gonna, I can, like I have to, like that's what I was going off. Like I guess I wasn't really focused like on like I didn't focus on what I was nervous about. I focused on like what I have to do. Like if I get nervous, then I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be super scary, and I'll just focus on my nervousness. So I kind of wanted to put my nerves besides me, and so I didn't really focus on them at all. I kind of just walked out there, and I was like, man, this feels like I'm in a dream or something. Like it still doesn't feel real. I was like, this is not real. Like it can't be. But then there it was.
I think you just dropped some gold sitting across the chair from me. Like you're like, hey, I'm going to focus on something. So I controlled my focus into what I can control, my effort, what I need to do to be successful, how Cierra needs to fight to win the bout. That's incredible. Like I said, you and Spencer, I mean, there's a lot of people on this elite team, and I know, that are going to absolutely shake up the world. Like, we have people coming up in this next generation of fighters out of SFS that you have no idea. You think you know, but you have no idea. We have children here, 18-year-old kids that are tapping out high-level professional fighters, and it's unbelievable. And you guys are this next force moving forward. So one of the things I want to talk about is your parents on fight night. I always think, because a lot of parents, when their child starts training in a sport like this, they're super nervous. I can't tell you how many times, usually from the mom, I hear like I just don't want my child doing this. And you know what's funny is usually after the fight, the mother is the number one biggest fan on earth of their child, with just brimming with pride. Like, it's all they'll want to talk about. They'll radiate the energy to their family. I can see you sitting across the chair like, yep, that's mama. But like, talk about leading up to it, what your mom was like. Your mom gave the loudest yell ever right as the fight was about to start, so loud that your opponent actually went, right? And then looked back forward. And then your mom, when we went to B-Dubs after, was glowing. She was radiating energy like, can you believe that was my daughter? Talk a little bit about that experience. And then I want you to try to break down what you remember of the fight. Usually in your first couple fights, and maybe it's not for you. I mean, you're obviously gifted. In your first couple fights, normally it's kind of just like, it happens, and then you're kind of like when you watch it, you remember some stuff. Oh, that. Just talk about your parents leading up to it, and then as much detail as you can talk about the fight.
So my mom mostly is exactly what you just said. Like, she's nervous going into the fight. She's like, what if you get hit? Like, I'm worried about like injuries. And I was like, no, there's not gonna be any injuries here. And once she got there, like, she was screaming the whole time. Like, she was probably so happy. Like, she saw me go up there, and I think that's when she's like, dang, like, that's my daughter going up there. Like, she was super proud of me. And yeah, she gives her I call, and that's when the opponent was like, what the heck? And that I laughed so hard up there. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, she was super happy afterwards. Like, she was talking to everyone. She's like, yeah, that's my daughter up there. Like, she's gonna be that UFC fighter. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was super funny. And my dad was super excited too. Like, he's like, yeah, like, he's showing everyone at work and stuff. And like, even like my family friends, like, they're kind of like my other family. Like, they're still showing people at like their work. They're like, that's like my, like, she's like a daughter to me. Like, that is so funny. My mom was telling me about the one guy that went with my family. He's like, he looked back and he's like, man. And she used to be like 5 years old, just sitting on my lap, and he was like getting all sad about it. And now he's like super proud, and I thought that was the cutest thing.
100%. I mean, really, like I said to you before, I told you this backstage, or I might have told you this the day of the fight, that like your actions tonight and in that moment will inspire people more than you have any idea. Like, it takes that energy that you experience and it puts it into other people's lives. And that energy can really motivate people, can fire people up, can get people excited, can get others to chase their own dreams. You know what I mean? Like, some young girl, you fought before Sydney did. Even though Sydney's been training long you, she looked up to you, and like, in her mind, that's her in a very short period of time. Or some girl that might be playing soccer right now like you were, that goes, you know what? I feel like there's something else that's a calling to me that could help empower me, to give me confidence, to make me step up to challenges, that might see that and then level up. And the dark side of it is, you're also going to find people that will see you climbing, and they're going to want to do everything in their power to suppress that climb, or try to like, whatever at you. But like, no matter what, that energy is infectious. How it hits people is more about them than you. But like I told you, you are going to create ripples that are going to go out into this world, and they're going to work to change things. And that's powerful. So now I want you to talk to me all about the fight. I want you to talk to me about when you were warming up backstage. I want you to talk to me when you were standing behind the curtain. We had to wait for about 10 minutes. You're just standing there behind the curtain, what you were thinking, what you were feeling. Then they announce your name. You turn around and you give me this little grin because of the walkout song that you chose, and then just talk into the fight after that point. But as much detail as you can remember, and we'll capture this moment forever.
I remember like most of the things from that night, like backstage. I felt like I was just warming up with Tristan. I was like, man, this is a good warm up. Like, good times. Let's go home now. Like, didn't think it was actually gonna happen. So I was just like, yeah, like get my body warm. And then as we're walking out, it's just kind of cool seeing like how they made the walkout. And I was like, this is super cool. And as we waited, I was just kind of stretching, like, okay, like let's get things moving.
Your brain was just blank.
Yeah, I didn't really, I wasn't thinking about anything really. I was like, it's time to just go home now. Like, I wasn't here a while. I just kind of want to go to bed. But, like, I had all this adrenaline leading up to the fight, I think. And then we were waiting back. I was so excited for my walkout song. Because in the car when we were driving there, you post that video of it. You're like, man, what if all these 3 fighters walked out to this song? And I told Ezekiel, and he started laughing so hard. I was like, oh, gosh, this is going to be great.
For the people that didn't see it, on the way down, I made a joking story where I put on All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey, and I put on my Instagram, like, trying to get my fighters pissed off for the fights coming up. And you see Ezekiel in the car and Miles like this. And Cierra gave this little grin. And at the time, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, what? And then they were laughing a little bit after, and she wouldn't tell me why. And I am embarrassed that I didn't put the pieces together. But it's because it was her walkout song, right? And it was a power play. And that's what they say on B2. They go, listen, that is a power play. You walk out to that, you better be bringing it. So during the walkout, you're just enjoying the moment. You're excited. You get in the cage. Did you have any thoughts right before the fight started? Was anything running through your head? Because you kept telling me all night, like, this doesn't feel real. I can't believe it's me. Like, you kept saying that, but I was like, all right, at some point it has to be real because, like, you're going to be standing in the ring across from a woman. They're going to be announcing you, and you're going to have to fight. So talk about that, and then tell me as much of what you remember about the fight. Were you having thoughts while you were fighting? Were you just fighting, etc.?
Yeah, like, what I didn't have any thoughts. Like, going into the fight still, I was like, this can't be real. Like, I can't be standing here looking at my opponent right now going into fight her. I was like, well, it is what it is. Let's just do it. And so I was thinking, like, about my friend who was in the Marines. I was like, he just went through the crucible. And I told you that when we were doing the Epsom salt baths. And I was like, if he can do that, like, I can go in there, put a show on for everyone, and get out. Like, he's probably got it 10 times worse than I do. So I was thinking about that. Like, that gave me a lot of motivation. And I don't remember, like, what I was thinking, like, as I was punching her. Like, I don't even remember the combos I was throwing. I was just kind of throwing it, and they worked. So I just kept throwing it. And, like, I think I had so much adrenaline during the fight. I didn't get tired once. Like, you kept telling me, like, kind of slow down, like, pace yourself. But I was like, I'm not even tired right now. Like, I just keep going and keep fighting and throwing a lot of punches, and it's what I did. Like, I didn't get tired at all. Like, I was ready. I just think I was just really ready.
The one thing that's bizarre, though, is normally, have you heard of an adrenaline dump? Normally what happens to people is when their adrenaline's firing, that is why they crash. And you didn't even slow down. Like, if you watch the very end of this fight and you watch the first punches she threw, it's the same. There was no change at all, which was incredible. I mean, it shows the condition you're in. It shows how hard you train for this. It shows that you were in a mental state that wasn't carrying a lot of nerves. Because I believe a lot of cardio comes down to more to the person's nervous state. Because if, like, you're incredibly nervous to do something, you gas super quickly. Versus if you're relaxed and it's just what you should be doing, your body is like, it's an easy experience on your body. So when the first round ends, you dominated the first round. You looked amazing. You were landing your combinations. It's real now. You're in a fight. You come over to the stool. You sit down. Did you have any thoughts in between rounds? How were you feeling? You don't remember feeling tired at all. Just talk about that.
Yeah, the second round when I was sitting on the bench, I was like, let's get back in there right now. Like, I just wanted to end it. I was so done. Like, I was ready to just go in there again and do what I did the last round again. and like everyone was telling me like the bang bang pop. So I tried to do it. I don't really remember like doing that, but I if I threw it, I did it. But I don't remember most of the combos like I threw. But like the second round going in, I still had no thoughts. I was like this is a dream right now. Like I am dreaming. And then after, I still felt like that didn't actually happen. I was like, did that happen? Like, did I really do that? Like, after I had her blood on my hands a little bit. I felt like I was like a murderer or something. Like, I just went in there and like absolutely murdered her because I was looking down at my hands. I was like, that actually did happen. Like, I have her blood on my hands now.
Oh my gosh. I'm here to tell you, yes, Sierra, that whole performance was you, okay? It wasn't a video game. This was real life. You went out there and were incredible. And I saw people wanting to take pictures with you after. The B2 staff came up to me and they're like, listen, like that was insane. Who is that girl? Like, you blew people away. Okay, so there's one moment, in the fight that stood out to me, or actually right after the fight, that really shocked me. And you're probably going to laugh about this, but so I know you pretty well. I've known you for about 3 years now. You're like one of the sweetest, most kind, hardworking, straightforward, like from a much older perspective, like a very innocent, just good human being. At the very end of the fight, you're standing up there. I don't know if you even realize this, and you'll have to go back and watch the video. And when you're waiting for your name to be announced, you don't blink for about 20 seconds. You're like, I don't know what's going through your head, but you're standing there like this, waiting for your name to get announced. They raise your hand. You smile for a moment as they put the medal on, and then you take your finger and you cut your own throat at the camera. And I'm telling you what, I've never seen that side of you at all, ever. I'm in the middle of filming like, yeah, look at Sierra. She did such a great job. I'm like a happy, like, older brother, like, oh my God, this one. And then you were like, and I literally went, like, I went to Tristan and Miles right after, and I'm like, did you guys see that? Was that Sierra? Sierra is literally an assassin that we did not realize until this moment. Is she like some KGB undercover killer that we didn't realize? Have you seen Black Widow with I'm telling you what, if you weren't the sniper, I'd call you Black Widow because I've never seen that side of you. Do you remember that? What were you thinking? And I'm telling you what, for anyone that might stereotype you as like, well, I don't know if she, has that like fighter energy. I saw it. Do you remember that?
I don't really remember. When I was up there, everything was like, after that, like my body kind of relaxed a little. I was just waiting, ready to leave because I was kind of hungry. I was like, I just want food now. Like, can we go to B-Dubs now? So I was sitting there with my hand up. I was like, okay, let's keep things moving. Kind of hurry up a little bit. So I didn't realize like I wasn't blinking. I was just in my mind blank. It was weird, but I don't remember doing the whole.
Where does that come from?
I don't.
Come on, you got to think about it. Like,
I watched Black Widow actually before my fight, so maybe I was like, let's do the nice power move where you use your finger. But I don't know. I just kind of did it out of instinct, I think, because I was fired up.
Ladies and gentlemen, this girl is an assassin. This is a killer sitting across the room from me. I never saw it, and it caught me off guard. Does she do that in the movie?
I don't think so.
I was going to say, I don't think so either. I don't think that works as a cover, Sierra. I don't remember at any point in the movie her being like, you're dead. But I'm telling you what, you did that, and I was like, who is going to line up to fight this girl? You know what I mean? Like, first of all, I think the punch count was like 95 to like 7. So you put on a massive performance there. And the only thing that's going to be left to question is people are going to go, oh, yeah, well, how's her wrestling? How's her jiu-jitsu? You know what I mean? How will she handle a wrestler? So you continue to work on your training. You continue to work on your grappling. Like, people don't see you train, but I do. And I know every day I see you grinding to improve your jiu-jitsu. You have wars with Kate. Let's shout out Kate Johnson real quick. Kate is another savage. Like, people don't understand. She's like the sweetest person I know. Yeah. But that girl is a savage, and she is coming to strangle some people when it's her time. So I want you to talk a little bit about, what your training is like normally. For people that are on the outside, that maybe your friends that are listening to this that want to know about, talk about like what your regular training is like. And even though you are primarily like you love striking, talk about what it was like to have to battle through like jiu-jitsu when you first started, because it's a whole different world. You weren't as good at it naturally. You had to build up. And then talk about, I guess, your training partners and like, what keeps you working so hard.
At first, when I started jiu-jitsu, I hated it. I didn't want to do it. I was like, man, I'm just going to stick to boxing. Like, jiu-jitsu's not for me. Because I didn't like losing. Like, I hated when everyone kept defeating me. I was like, gosh, this is frustrating. Like, why can't I get a submission? Like, I just want a submission. I want to win. And it's still, like, with Kate, I'm like, this is frustrating and very discouraging. Like, I was like, Kate submits me every time. She's a beast. But, like, I was like, why can I not get a submission on her? And I'm, like, trying it. I'm like, finally, like, one time, I'm going to get her one day. And she's not even going to see it. But, like, jiu-jitsu to me in the beginning was frustrating, and it just discouraged me. So I kind of, like, stopped. I was really on and off, actually, for a while. And I finally committed, I think, last year, I finally was like, if I want to, like, have an MMA debut, I need that ground game. So I was like, I'm going to put my hate against the sport a little bit away, and I'll train that. And when Kendra Ryan was here, she's teaching the wrestling, girls wrestling. I love that. I, like, really love her wrestling. So I was like, this is awesome. Like, I was really excited and about, like, being able to learn how to wrestle. And using that now, I kind of use it when we're trying to do jiu-jitsu, like, stand up. But every time I still get taken down by Kate. I was like, she's so tiny, too. Like, her muscles, like, I was like, where do you get these muscles from? Like, I can't even get my arm up when you have me in, like, an arm bar or a key lock. I'm like, usually I can fight that off pretty well with other people. But I like it now, like, being in there, and I got better over time. Like, then I do it every night now because I want to get better at it.
I actually saw a match recently where you were going with Dawn and you were able to get side control. And Dawn is a great grappler, very solid blue belt. She's your size. She's actually a little taller than you. And you were able to lock her down and control her for the entire round. And I was like, you know what? That has to be a big moment for Cierra to go from, like, because I remember when you started, I understand the, being discouraged. You were constantly losing. And I was trying to motivate you, like, hey, you have to go through this to get to where you want to go. But, like, I could see in your eyes this look of, like, oh my God, get these people off me, and recently you've been having success. And now do you think that's making training jiu-jitsu like much easier? You're finding your success. Have you been able to get your first submission on Kate yet?
I think once I kind of sat, like, in her mount position, she couldn't get up, but I don't think I was able to submit her yet. But I will get her.
It's coming.
It's coming. She won't even know it. It'll be there. But yeah, when I had Dawn and side control, that was a big one. I was like, wow, like, I kept her there. Like that was really cool, and it kind of pumped me up. Like, usually still I kind of get discouraged from the sport, but now I'm like, like, that's like a learning process. Like, to be submitted, that's when you learn from it. And I think now I'm learning from it. Like, all the submissions, I'm like, now when they do that, I'm going to do this and see what happens.
So I want you to talk a little bit about one of the things I push here super hard is like the culture and elite. I'm really hard on people about, like, not just trying to be good martial artists, but really trying to be better people on the mats, off the mats, as teammates. I'm big on, like, philosophy. I'm big on who you are in this life and, like, trying to be your best. And I know that matters to you. And hopefully even some of the people that are struggling more now, hopefully one day they'll look back and be like, man, like, that was definitely the energy I needed to try to bring out the best. Talk a little bit about being surrounded by other people that are all chasing these goals. Like, you were telling me the other day, you and Hayden are meeting at the track at 6 a.m. or something like that, and you've been running, and, like, you're in an environment with all these dream chasers, with all these people. Like, listen, we are leveling up. Regardless of whether we become UFC world champions or not, we are leveling up as people to try to be our best. What has that environment been like for you? Do you think it's brought out the best in you? And just anything else that you'd like to talk about the training environment in general.
Yeah, so the whole elite program, I love it. Like, these people are here to better themselves and get to the top, and I think that's amazing energy. Like, I really like everyone. We're, like, kind of like a big family who we're not here to, like, tell people, like, hey, you're not good enough. We're all here, like, we're telling you that, like, everyone, like, hey, you got this. Like, you're super strong. Like, that's a really strong team. Like I think like once you have a strong team, it boosts your confidence. You're like, like I have all these people like behind me supporting me, which is a good feeling. Like probably for the same for them, like they know they have like a good like team besides them, which is very helpful. And me and Hayden are going to the track Thursday morning, and that's when we're starting at 6 a.m. We're gonna do it try to do it every day, just to get your speed up. And I feel like having someone there, because you don't want to get up at 5:30 in the morning to go running, and I hate running. Like no one likes running, but just to have someone who's motivating you through it, it pushes you to be better. Like they're going faster, you want to go faster. Like if you're by yourself, you could stop. You just stop and walk away. But when someone's there with you, they're pushing you to be your best. So I think it's really good to have like that team. Like when we went on that 10-mile jog with the elite team on Sunday morning, everyone was pushing everyone, and I think that was very powerful to do. So.
I agree 100%. I think that's the idea of all aspects of life. I think when you bring people together and you demand higher standards, or you demand excellence, or at least the pursuit of excellence, it's like, what a lot of people need to realize is like, you don't need to be where you're going to be now. You just have to work towards it. You just have to chase that excellence, and you have to hold others accountable, but you can only do that if you hold yourself accountable. You know what I mean? And like, it's for me, it has been the most rewarding part of my career so far as a coach, alongside with like seeing, my student win a world title, seeing a student get to the UFC, see another student get to the UFC, another student get to the UFC, students fighting overseas. It has been so impactful for me to see this young generation exuding such unbelievable positive energy for themselves, but also each other. Because even though MMA is like a very solo sport, and life is a solo sport, like you can go through this life super selfish, not think about a single other person. And a lot of people that are really successful are that way. But if you can go through this life smashing your goals, conquering, and bringing up the people around you while you go, to me, that's a form of excellence that very few will ever understand. And it'll give a type of fulfillment with yourself and with your life that will lead to long-term happiness. Because I can tell you, like, I know, I'm at a level now where I have friends that are really wealthy, and I have friends that are, just starting. But even people with a lot of money, I know there's a lot out there that are not happy at all. They have a lot of money. They have really nice things. They've, fit society's mold of like success, but they're not happy at all. And when I look at their lives, it's generally because the relationships and the connections that they have with the people around them have suffered tremendously because of their success. You know what I mean? They were so focused on this that they shunned this, or they screwed these people over, or they did this and this, or they've become someone that like deep down they're really not proud of. So all that money in your bank account or whatever size house you have is completely irrelevant if when you look in the mirror, you're not proud of that human being. So I think if I can set a culture in here, and I might be establishing a culture, but you guys are the ones maintaining and keeping and bringing up that culture. If I can establish a culture of excellence like that, you know how good that will be for the community, for young kids, when there's all these fucking pitfalls in society and all these things that are going to tell you, like we talked about earlier, a million things that will make you a lesser version of yourself, that will give you struggle, that'll give you setbacks, that'll give you health issues, that'll give you mental issues, that'll give you all these things. If you can dodge that and get yourself into an environment around dream chasers, you're going to find out that like this life is actually pretty awesome. You know what I mean? Like I'm very thankful that I went through a lot of struggles and a lot of hardships as a kid, because I think it allows me to connect with people that are struggling and help bring them up. But I can tell you right now, like life is awesome. Life is so cool, and I'm like so thankful, but you only get to experience that if you like build that. And that comes from learning how to be an elite human being, you know what I mean? Or whatever term you would classify it with. But in this building, we call it elite, and like even showing up to the show. I made you showed up in a dress. I showed up in a suit. Ezekiel showed up in a suit. Miles had on his, I don't know the name of the outfit. But right when we got there, we got stopped by B2, didn't we?
Yeah.
They literally came up to say, wait, stop. Can we get you guys to stand by the cage and get a picture of this team? Because we are bringing a level of excellence and a standard across the board that, man, imagine if that was just the culture of MMA. Imagine if when you went to an MMA show, all the teams showed up incredibly professionally, on point, looking clean, on weight, treating others with respect, fighting their hearts out. Man, parents would be like, I want my kids as a part of that. Look at the people they are becoming in that sport. So, Cierra, we've captured a beautiful podcast so far, but before we wrap this thing up, anyone that you'd like to shout out, anything that you'd like to say to your family, to yourself, maybe to a young girl that's considering getting in MMA, you know what I mean? Like, because you were that girl not too long ago. Just anything you'd say, and like how you feel about your life right now, what it's like being on the other end of the debut, just anything you'd like to capture in this moment.
I want to thank everyone from here for like training with me, and all the coaches for like training and helping me through the whole process. And I want to thank all the supporters and fans who like hyping me up through it. Everyone after the fight, my phone was just blowing up, and it was really, really cool to see like how many people like actually supported me. Like, I didn't expect that many people to just support me like that. I want to thank my family and my friends for going to the fight, and most importantly, you and Master Juan for really working with me for this fight. It was very helpful. And I want to thank Heidi Miller. Yesterday, she gave me $100 for sponsorship money. So thank you, Heidi. That's awesome. And probably going to go buy some more sweatpants with that because I love my sweatpants for training. But yeah, and for like people who like are like me when I was in 9th grade, I felt like I like just walking through the hallways in school as like a nobody kind of. For people who are like low self-esteem, like MMA is a big life changer. Like, it changed my whole life around. Like, I talked to other MMA fighters like who aren't from this gym, and they said like, yeah, like it changed my whole life around too. Like, they had the same experience kind of. So like, if you're like playing soccer in 9th grade and you don't think it's for you, like maybe try like come to the gym and try it out, because I bet I'll guarantee it, you'll fall in love with the sport as well.
I love it, Cierra. I think it's awesome. I think what you did was incredible. And I think if we could go back in time and we took that video right there and we showed the girl that walked in the door the first day here and we said, hey, this is you. This is who you're going to build yourself into. See that woman brimming with confidence that walked out chest tall and dominated? That's you. You know what I mean? It would be an incredible thing. And the crazy part is that's just this. What is Cierra going to look like at 21, at 22? At 25. You know what I mean? So like, you are on the path to success. You are on the path to, regardless of what avenue in your life you go for, by learning to be the type of person that you are now, you're going to conquer and you're going to dominate. So it was an honor to sit with you today. It was an honor to corner you for the fight. And you and this elite group, man, I tell you what, if you get matched up with an SFS elite member, you better be at your best. You better work extremely hard. You better not take days off, and you better show up ready to fight, because they are coming and they are ready. And it's not just Cierra. There is a literal army behind her as a part of SFS Elite that are going to blow you guys away. So I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. If you want to see Cierra's fight, we're going to post the full link right on the SFS page, so you can check us out on Facebook, or you can go on the Instagram. I'm going to download the entire fight and post it to the Instagram so everyone will be able to see it. So, Cierra, thank you for joining me today, and we'll wrap this up.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.